The blazing late-morning sun beat down on the Serengeti National Park, gilding the vast savanna and bringing an unyielding, intense heat. Amidst the endless, dry grass, we see the image of two lion cubs lying close together. One, named Kale, has a radiant tawny coat, the color of the land itself. The other, Aura, is a rare albino individual, pristine white, almost glowing against the scorched gold, a stark contrast and a symbol of her extreme fragility. Kale nudged her gently with his nose, but Aura remained still, her breathing shallow and ragged. Meanwhile, the whispering main pride, led by the formidable lioness Serafina, was moving slowly toward the horizon where dwindling water sources could be found. Serafina let out a mournful, low call, a sound that echoed the harsh reality of the jungle law. Those severely ill must be left behind. Zia, Kale's mother, looked back at her son, her eyes full of pain before reluctantly following the pride. But Kale did not. He stood up, small amidst the vastness, and resolutely turned his back on his family. He gently laid down beside Aura, placing his body between his friend and the harsh world. In this kingdom, where every action is dictated by the instinct of survival, can pure, unconditional loyalty defy the cruel law of nature? This is not just a story of survival. It is a testament to love, courage, and the silent vow of a small heart witnessed under the African sun. Join us as we explore the true meaning of valor and dedication. Kale had made his choice, and immediately he faced the terrifying reality: absolute solitude on the abandoned savanna. The midday sun climbed to its zenith, pouring down a dreadful heat. Kale, though only a cub, instinctively positioned his small, heating body to cast a meager shadow over Aura's white, sensitive skin. Her lack of pigment made her particularly vulnerable to the scorching sun. Kale gently and repeatedly licked his friend's fur, a silent reassurance. The vastness of the Serengeti, usually a place of life, now became an isolating expanse. Hunger and thirst began to torment Kale. He stood up restlessly, taking a few steps toward the shimmering horizon, where the scent of the pride still lingered on the wind. Instinct told him to follow, to find food, to find water, to choose survival. But every time he turned his back, his eyes caught the image of Aura lying motionless. His small heart had made a different decision. He turned back and lay down. Loyalty had triumphed over instinct. Kale maintained a high state of vigilance. He not only had to fight his own hunger and thirst, but also cope with the severity of the environment. He gently nudged Aura with his head, trying to encourage her to move even slightly, a small sign of life. The scorching hours passed heavily in silence. Exhaustion gradually set in, but Kale knew he could not sleep. Suddenly, a stealthy, gray figure appeared. It was a cunning jackal, scenting the weakness and solitude of the two cubs. It moved low through the tall grass, its sly eyes constantly fixed on Aura, the most vulnerable individual. Kale recognized the danger immediately. His entire body tensed. His sparse, undeveloped mane bristled. He let out a roar, still cub-like but full of power, a sound learned from the adult males he often observed. He charged a short distance, swatting at the ground, firmly placing himself between the predator and Aura. Kale was small, exhausted, and dehydrated, but the fierce anger of a protector made the opportunistic jackal hesitate. It paused, then quickly slunk into the bushes, giving up in the face of this unexpected, fierce defense. The danger had passed, but Kale was completely drained. He trembled and lay softly beside Aura, his head resting near hers, maintaining his tireless vigil. This long, silent, scorching afternoon was the most moving testament to his sacrifice, a silent promise that he would not abandon his friend. This bond had truly transcended all known laws of nature. Hours later, as the sun began to dip toward the west, the harsh light mellowing into a soft orange hue, a subtle vibration cut through the stillness and exhaustion. Dr. Elias Vance, a seasoned veterinarian with the Serengeti Wildlife Rescue Organization, was conducting his late afternoon patrol. He was not tracking prey or migration. His mission was to seek out individuals in need of help. Dr. Vance's binoculars caught an unusual and heartbreaking sight. A tawny cub standing guard fiercely beside a white form, almost motionless. Aura, the albino lion cub, with her unique coat color, had become a clear focal point, a distress signal in the savannah. He immediately recognized this as a critical medical and survival emergency. Cale had gone almost 2 days without food or water. Dr. Vance quickly drove his specialized vehicle to a safe distance, then called his team for immediate backup. He emphasized the extreme sensitivity of the situation. Cale was in a state of high stress, instinctively defensive. A rough intervention could cause Cale to panic or even cause harm. This had to be a rescue built on trust. Moving with maximum composure and caution, Dr. Vance placed a small bucket of fresh water on the ground, about 10 meters from Cale, then retreated to his vehicle. He moved further away, allowing the desperate cub some privacy. Cale, exhausted and tormented by thirst, stood up. He looked at the water, then back at Aura, then at the doctor's vehicle. The internal struggle was evident. Loyalty held him back, but the instinct for survival urged him on. Finally, thirst won. Cale rushed forward, drinking quickly and almost greedily. Yet his eyes never left Aura, always vigilant. After drinking, a miracle occurred. Cale did not immediately lie down. He returned, his nose still wet. He gently licked Aura's lips, a gesture that was clumsy, naive, yet full of humanity, attempting to share the precious water. Dr. Vance, witnessing this voluntary act of sharing, understood that Cale had lowered his guard, or at least, Cale had placed his trust in the action. Aura's salvation had to include Cale. When the full rescue team arrived, they proceeded carefully and prepared the necessary medical equipment. Dr. Vance decided to use a mild, fast-acting sedative on Cale. The dose was enough to calm Cale, prevent panic, but not enough to put him to sleep. It was crucial that Cale could still perceive his surroundings. They carefully placed Aura onto a specialized medical stretcher first, stabilized her, and began an immediate fluid drip. Cale was then secured and always positioned where he could see Aura receiving care. Their bond had to be kept intact throughout this traumatic rescue journey. A glimmer of hope had appeared. The rescue vehicle sped along the dirt tracks, carrying the 2 small lives toward the Serengeti Haven Intensive Care Center. Inside the vehicle, Aura was placed on a specialized warming mat and connected to oxygen and enforced system. She was fighting for her life. Upon arrival at the treatment area, Aura was immediately moved into the emergency care room. Cale, more alert after the mild sedative, was placed in an adjacent recovery cage. The 2 cubs were separated by a thick, transparent, clean glass panel, allowing Cale to see all the medical activity around Aura. Despite being dazed, Cale had only one focus: Aura. He staggered toward the glass, his eyes locked on his friend lying motionless on the examination table.
Blood
Dr.
pressure is
Vance
unstable.
and his team worked tirelessly. The diagnosis confirmed Aura had a severe respiratory tract infection along with a dangerously high fever. Cale leaned against the cold glass, letting out distressed, worried whimpers, a sound different from the earlier defiant roar, now a cry of fear and helplessness. Suddenly, an alarm on Aura's monitoring screen blared. Her temperature spiked dramatically, and her small body began to convulse, a dangerous reaction due to the excessive fever. Dr. Vance and the nurses immediately rushed in, using every measure, including cold compresses and specific medication, to try and stabilize her body temperature. Cale watched the crisis unfold through the glass. He was genuinely panicked. His small roar became urgent, desperate, and he violently rammed his shoulder into the glass, trying to penetrate the invisible barrier to get to his friend. Dr. Vance, who had witnessed countless life and death moments in nature, recognized the extraordinary power of this bond. He understood that Cale was not just an emotional factor. He might be the medicine that science could not provide. Going against strict infection control protocols, he made a bold decision. He ordered the connecting door to be opened, gently guiding Kale into the treatment room. The moment Kale entered, all his panic vanished. He calmly approached Aura, navigating around the 4 lines and monitoring equipment. He was neither hyperactive nor disruptive. Kale simply rested his head beside Aura's and began to emit a deep, continuous purr. It was the sound of safety, of home, of a friendship that never abandoned. Aura, though still deeply unconscious, seemed to respond to the familiar vibration and warmth with a very slight movement of her head. This moment confirmed what the medical team was witnessing. Friendship was an integral part of the healing process. Kale's gentle intervention provided the necessary emotional stability, giving Aura's small body extra strength to fight the illness. Kale's warm purr had worked its magic. The next morning, as the first rays of sunlight streamed through the treatment room window, Aura's high fever finally broke, and her body temperature stabilized. Kale was still lying beside her, his purr now rhythmic and softer. Then, the miracle happened. Aura's eyelids fluttered open. Her pale blue eyes, unique and beautiful, slowly focused. The first thing she saw was Kale resting his head next to hers. She tried to utter a small, weak but clear sound, a cry of recognition. Kale lifted his head, nudged her gently, and licked her face, a tender moment of reunion that moved even the most experienced medical team. From that moment, Aura's recovery progressed astonishingly fast. Kale was allowed to stay, becoming the constant purring nurse beside his friend. Aura, for the first time in days, accepted a little warm milk. Kale also ate more enthusiastically, but always stayed close to Aura, his mind focused on his best friend. Weeks passed in a specially designed, spacious recovery area. The 2 cubs frolicked in the sun, healthier and stronger than ever. Aura's white coat was radiant, and Kale had grown sturdier. Then, the day of return arrived. Dr. Vance's team had tracked and located the Whispering main pride about 50 kilometers away. The 2 cubs were carefully placed into a transport vehicle. When released onto a high ridge overlooking the pride's feeding area, Kale and Aura stood together, sniffing the familiar air. After a moment of hesitation, they began to walk down the hill, side by side, just as they had faced death together. It was Serafina, the lead lioness, who spotted them first. She let out a huge, welcoming roar, bringing the entire pride to a halt. Then, Zia, Kale's mother, and the other lionesses rushed toward them. The reunion was emotional, a flurry of head rubs, licks, and warm purrs. Kale was embraced by his mother, but he stood close to Aura, and the entire pride encircled both of them, accepting the frail albino cub and the brave friend who had saved her. This is the true law of nature. Loyalty, connection, and unconditional love possess a strength greater than any fawn or claw. Kale's courageous choice not only brought life back to Aura, but also reinforced the spirit and strength of the entire pride. True family is not always defined by blood, but by the love forged in the most difficult choices. If you believe in the incredible power of connection and second chances, click the link in the description to support Dr. Vance and the Serengeti Wildlife Rescue Organization. Your contribution ensures they can continue to provide gentle solutions and witness more extraordinary miracles like Kale and Aura. Subscribe to our channel for more stories of hope from the wild.